Hello and welcome back to another video on my channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie and I create all types of videos all about nails. So today I'm doing a watch me work. This is a set of nails done on one of my clients using structured gel or builder gel, and I did this really fun kind of like 90s kind of retro design with some daisies and swirls. So fun. So this is what her nails looked like to begin with. This is about 3 or 4 weeks grown out, and we did have a couple little sides that got chipped, so we need to repair that as well. So we got to start by removing the old design, and for that I'm using my Erica's ATA bit in the violet carbide barrel bit. So I will definitely always make sure to link everything down in the description box, and as always you can use my code AMB10 to save 10% off of bits and implements from Erica's ATA. So I am again using this barrel bit to remove the old design, and her previous design had the French done with gel polish, and then the base color for her nail was just the color of the builder gel. So there is no other gel polish on the nail besides just the top coat and the French color. So super easy to remove. So I'm just going to remove all of that, and then we can start on the prep. And for this bit, I have it at about 25,000 RPMs. So I like to make sure that the speed is fairly high, because if you use a lower speed, sometimes it'll actually cause you to use more pressure, which then is going to cause more heat as you are e-filing, and you could potentially actually do more damage by using more pressure or accidentally cut your client. So don't be afraid when doing the removal to turn the e-file up a little bit and get it at a quicker speed. It'll do a lot more of the work for you, and then you won't have to overcompensate by pushing or using more pressure. Now you can see with the pointer finger on the other hand, because there's like a chip on the side, I also noticed that it had lifted a little bit. So you want to make sure and remove all that lifting. So I am just very gently going to use this bit to kind of remove that lifting that's on the free edge, and there's like a little crack, so I got to make sure and get all of that out before I fill the nails and do all that stuff. And I believe that looks like because there's lifting, there's like a little bit of staining and stuff underneath, so just so you know, so there you might get a little bit of discoloration when you have lifting like that. So just make sure and remove it all, and basically I had to remove all of the product on the free edge. So for the prep, I'm starting with pushing back the cuticles very gently with my cuticle pusher, and on the other side of the cuticle pusher it has like a little scraper edge, and so sometimes I will use that to kind of get into the sidewalls if I see anything that I can just easily scrape out right away before I move on to the prep. Sometimes it's easier to just get it like that, but again, be very, very gentle because these are usually sharp. Now I'm switching back to my e-file, and for this I'm going to be using the Russian flame bit. I'm starting with the e-file in the forward direction, and I'm working from right to left, and then I'm actually going to switch it into the reverse direction and go from left to right. And for this bit I keep it about 10,000 RPMs, and just make sure and use a very, very light pressure and try to keep it at more of a parallel angle. So you definitely don't want to be like pointing that bit into the nail, because it does have kind of like a little sharp point on it. So you want to make sure you're not tilting it too far in where you're actually going to be like creating a dent into the nail. So be very, very gentle, use very little pressure, keep it on the lower speed, and try to keep it a little bit more parallel to the nail. So again, I'm just going in the forward direction, and then I'm going to switch it in reverse and go around the other side of the nail, and this is just going to help push back the skin all around the entire nail and cuticle area and help thin out that cuticle area so that I can easily nip it off or remove it. You can also use these bits if the client has a little bit of hardened skin, like on the side of the finger, things like that. You can use this bit to kind of polish or exfoliate some of that dry skin off, which is really nice. Now I'm using my Erica's Boss Lady nippers. I know these nippers have been out of stock for a while, and hopefully they said they will be getting them back in stock soon. There's just some delays with the shipment and stuff like that, so hopefully they'll be getting them back in stock soon because they are my favorite nippers. And so I'm just going around and nipping off the skin that is like hanging up and it's like away from the nail, so I don't really go in and nip too much, just definitely the skin that's just like waving at you, flapping in the wind, like that's the stuff that I want to get off. And as always, I always say if you're not comfortable with nipping, then you can definitely skip this part. If you don't have the training or you're not quite sure and you just don't feel comfortable, then by all means, definitely you can skip this part. Lastly, I'm just going in the reverse direction and I'm using the Refine ball bit, and this is in the fine grit, and I'm just going around the cuticle area and this is just going to refine the skin and just exfoliate any little extra bits or dead skin that might be left on the nail. It's going to prevent hangnails. It's going to create a really nice smooth cuticle area. So I love this bit. I feel like it's a great final step in doing cuticle work. It kind of finishes off the cuticle area, and I use this bit as well in the same speed, around 10,000 RPMs, and I'm just going in the reverse direction. So here's what her nails now look like all done after they've been prepped, and it's ready to go for application. So for starting that, I'm going to be using some cleanser, some 99% alcohol that I have, and I'm going to be scrubbing the nail plate, making sure and removing any dirt, excess oils, debris, dust, anything like that. That all needs to come off so that you have a really clean nail plate and that the gel will stick to. So then I'm going to be applying my primer. This is the Luminary Commit Primer. I use this primer for every single person. It does not need to be cured. You just do a layer of the primer on the nail and let it dry for a second, and it's good to go. So I'm going to do a layer of this, and then I'm going to go in with my Luminary gel for the builder gel. So I'm going in with the color Balance. This is kind of like a creamy, milky kind of pink color, and I'm going to paint on a thin layer over the entire nail. This is called a slip layer. It's going to help you float that builder layer onto the nail, and it'll help the gel smooth out really nice and evenly. So as you can see, I pick up a bigger bead of gel after I place down that slip layer and just float it onto the nail and let it kind of do its thing. And then I can use also a detailer brush to move the gel around where I need it to go to get it as nice and smooth as possible and have a good built up structure. So after I do that, I cure one nail at a time and then move on to the next nail. So here we are again, placing my slip layer down, and this was the nail that I needed to remove most of the gel on the free edge because it had been lifted. So again, going in with a slip layer, and then I'm going to start building up the nail and using my detailer brush to make sure it's nice and smooth and has the apex where I want it and good structure. Now I need to apply my form for the other nail because the actual free edge of the nail had broken off on the corner, so I wanted to fix that. And I'm going to be using my Magpie forms, and I just make sure and cut the sides so that it fits a little bit closer and a little bit better underneath the nail. You can see she does have a little bit of staining under the nail as well, so don't mind that. Totally normal, it happens. But I'm going to use this form and my luminary gel to just build out a little bit of that corner so that it's more back to like a square shape. So then again, I'm going to go back and forth doing one nail at a time on each hand. For luminary, I find that it actually doesn't cure quite as fast as my traditional hard gel, which is why I do one nail at a time on each hand and go back and forth so that it actually has enough time in the lamp for it to set and harden and like not lose its shape. Whereas my traditional hard gel only needs seriously like a few seconds for it to set up and harden. So that's why for the luminary, I do one nail on each hand at a time. So now for the design process, I actually already finish filed these nails. I feel like, I know some people want me to show it, but I feel like it's boring and it's actually really hard for me to get in camera without it being blurry or like being out of frame because I'm just moving the hands all over the place and filing. So I'm just dusting off the extra dust and debris after filing, and then I'm going to start with my design. The colors I'll be using for this design, first, I'm going to be using this really bright pink from Luxa Polish called To The Max. It's a super bright neon pink. I feel like my camera can never pick up those like bright neon pinks quite like they look in person. And then the next color is also from Luxa Polish called Blossom. This is a really light baby pink. And then I'll also be using the white gel polish from Magpie Beauty. And for the brushes, I'm using my favorite Ugly Duckling striper brush. I use this anytime I need to do like thin, long lines, any type of, striping situation. And then the small detailer brush I'm using is actually from the brand Tiny, which is from Zillabeau.com. And this is their short liner. It's honestly become one of my all-time favorite brushes. It's so thin and skinny, and I'm loving this brush. So this is why I love luminary, because I can use the colored luminary as a background and I don't have to worry about painting on another gel polish color to be the background of the design. It already has the nice kind of natural color as the background. So I'm going to be doing a checkerboard pattern on the pointer fingers, and I'm just using a detailer brush and a striping brush, and I've got some of my gel polish on a palette, and I'm just going in and painting basically a checkerboard pattern, and then I'm going to cure that and move on to the next nail. For the middle two nails, I'm just doing a swirl pattern with the three colors, which is the bright neon pink, the light baby pink, and a white. I also make sure to cure each line before I move on to the next color, because otherwise they will run together and you won't get like a nice crisp line. Now for the pinky nail and the thumbnail, I'm going to be painting on some daisies. And actually, I don't know why, but daisies are really hard for me for some reason. Like, it's hard for me to get the petals kind of evenly lined up between each other and like the proportions right, and then the petal shape correct. I don't know why. You would think that daisies would be easy, but for some reason they're actually a little bit tricky for me. So it takes me a couple times to like get into the zone of doing some daisies. But I think I actually ended up using my dotting tool to create dots, and then used my brush to kind of pull the dots out and create more of that petal shape. I've been loving these designs lately with the swirls and the checkerboard, kind of like retro throwback. I want to say 90s. Some people I think would consider it maybe 80s or 70s. I think it has a little bit of everything, but I'm just loving these kind of like retro designs lately, kind of groovy. Love the swirls. I think it's so fun, and I don't know, it's just kind of like some of my favorite designs to do. So after the design was done, all I did was top coat, and this was the end result. I think they are so fun. I love them. I am all about the bright colors and the fun, kind of trendy, bright spring summer designs. This is like what I live for. So it's my favorite season, spring summer. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, of course. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below and I will do my best to answer them. So I hope you all have a wonderful day.